Hey everyone, welcome to Princess Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we have part 7 of our continuing series on Snarled videos. For those who are just tuning in, I would suggest going to watch back the previous ones, although you can watch these in any order, it doesn't really matter. But what these are, they are basically scary stories. Some of them are taken from Reddit posts, some of them are taken from cultural lore and stuff. They're basically just scary stories told centering around different like monsters and concepts and everything. It's just a fun little thing. So today we are going to be doing 4 of them. Let's see here. We have the Pocong, we have the Thing, Late Night Passenger, and the Umibozu of Japan. So, a couple of these are definitely cultural. The Pocong is Indonesian, and the Umibozu of Japan is obviously Japanese. The Thing is very vague as for what it could be about. It could be about pretty much anything. And like Late Night Passenger, I assume someone is going to pick someone up and, yeah, going to be a spooky passenger kind of situation. Amphibia did that in its Halloween special. So about the other two though, the cultural ones, I don't know anything about these specific ones. Like I know some cultural mythological beings and stuff and different superstition and lore and stuff. But I don't think I've ever heard of the Pocong before. And the Umibozu is not one of the Japanese ones I do know. So I guess we're gonna learn some new stuff here today as well, maybe. Um, but yeah, these tend to be pretty interesting, tend to be pretty fun, but not too much to talk about going into them. Obviously, at the end, in the afterthoughts, we'll talk more about them, having seen them, and I'll even tell you like which one was like the scariest for me, or which one was the least scary, and so on and so forth. We'll talk about them as we do with everything we react to. But per usual, we do have to redirect this just due to copyright reasons. Even though they're on YouTube, freely and openly available, I don't want to risk anything. So let's get this started and hope for the best. When the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades black, then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the videos. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So this set dealt with a lot of monsters, it seems. So that's pretty interesting. There was definitely a theme with this set. Which, by the way, no issue with that. It's like let's talk about monsters. So we start with the Pocong, an Indonesian monster, supernatural, superstition, all of that shiz. Um, it's a really interesting one too. It's one I've never heard of. So apparently, when a a Muslim burial, I guess, they wrap the body up and tie it at 3 places: top of the head, the neck, and the feet. And if the body is left unwrapped or something, it comes back as a Pocong or something like that. But either way, so the story centers around this girl who has to go to a religious school, and and the only way to get there apparently is through these dense woods. She's gone there so much she recognizes the sounds of the woods, but one day comes across a new sound and ends up coming across the Pocong. She manages to escape it and get home, but her mother tells her, it's like, oh, this is a good thing. If you hug it and we unwrap it and all, we'll get fortune and wealth and good luck and shit. And she's like, you want to do that for us, right? Like, that would be a nice thing to do for your mother. It's like, oh my God, I hate you. I hate people who do that, who like tell their kids like, oh, you have to do this for us. You have to become rich and successful and wealthy for us because we brought you into this world. It's like, bitch, shut the fuck up. You are a terrible person and definitely a terrible parent. So we find out that apparently the mother got her comeuppance though, because she had been drinking away like crazy as like a way of celebrating the wealth she believed was going to come, and it caused her to get into an accident and die. It's like, well, you brought that literally on yourself, lady, so I don't feel bad for you. And then the girl who was forced by her mother to hug the Pocong and help her unwrap it and everything, she ended up getting adopted by a wealthy family. And it's like, fucking karma. It's like this terrible mother who forced her daughter to do something against her will while she was clearly scared out of her fucking gourd. It's like this terrible mother gets her comeuppance and dies, which, I mean, maybe a little extreme, but still. And this poor girl who was forced to endure that ends up, she gets the luck and wealth. And it's like, okay, I like that ending. That's a really like satisfying ending. I actually really enjoyed that one. I don't know a lot about Indonesian or just in a lot of ways Muslim culture and whatnot. So it's pretty interesting to learn about this kind of stuff too. I genuinely like learning stuff about other cultures, even if I'm not great at actually researching myself. So next we had The Thing. So this is the story this time around that has the big twist. We've had a couple of those twisty ones before, such as the father in the other room. The girl like heard the knocking at the wall, and the father was in the other room killing people. I believe that was last time. But this one tells the story of a mother and her daughter who are constantly harassed by this thing. This monster with a wide grin, red eyes, who just keeps harassing them and feeding off of their fear and shit. And so one night, they try again, and I say again because they've tried to escape before, they try again to escape, and he ends up waking up and catching them. So he starts to chase them through their house and eventually grabs and pulls back the mother. But she yells for the daughter to keep running to safety. She runs and is trying to hide from him. She even throws a stick to throw him off, which, yeah, we've seen that kind of thing in various media, using like a distraction like that to lure them in a different direction. She eventually climbs up a tree, like desperate to escape, and the thing finds her. However, the police arrive and take him away, at which point it's revealed that the thing is her father. And that this story was about a horrifically abusive father who was not letting them escape and leave, who was so bad for them that they had tried multiple times to do so, and that the mother was even so desperate just for her daughter to escape that she's like, just run, go for it. And it's like, Jesus fuck, it's like, that got really real. And it's like, almost everything can be explained. The only thing that confuses me is the sleeping under the bed thing, but that might just be like some random like exaggeration or whatnot. Or maybe bunk beds can explain it, I don't know. But like even the like red eyes, like bloodshot eyes, and everything can be explained. The wide grin, it's like obviously someone who's like trying to convince you they're nice by putting on this big fake smile, while in reality is a terrible, horrible, shitty, evil person. It's like, yeah, it's like this kind of stuff can be explained. And obviously a lot of the stuff like calling his nails talons and all is a hyperbole to express how frightening of a figure he tends to be towards her. It's like, it's really fucking sad, actually. It's like, Jesus, fuck, that got real. It was a really good and well handled twist too. It's like I genuinely didn't see it coming. I thought it was just another monster story, but that's the thing. It was, because unfortunately, like, these monsters of people exist in real life, and so many have been victims to it, and it's terrible. It's horrifying. So yeah, that's a thing. Got very real there. The next one we had though was Late Night Passenger. And this was another one centering around a kind of mythical creature or superstition, you know, the boot, which is an Indian superstition. This one I didn't even know was going to be about this kind of thing, because the title doesn't really tell you like anything like that. Like Late Night Passenger, I think, okay, someone picks someone up, ends up being very like scary and unsafe and shit. And it's like, that is what happened. But I thought it was just going to be like a creepy ass person or a murderer or something. Like, even through a lot of this, I thought that, until it revealed that her feet were backwards. But yeah, so this guy is doing rideshare. He's new to it. He's trying to get his first passenger, and he's about to give up when he finally gets one. It's this girl, and he ends up going to pick her up in the warehouse district, which is a little weird, but, you know, whatever. He sees her wandering around and, you know, invites her into the car when he realizes it's the right girl. But she seems very confused, very out of it. And my thoughts at this point were like, oh, she's probably been drugged. Like, that's legitimately where my mind went. It's like, she seems out of it. Like, really out of it, to the point, she has memory loss. It's like, she's probably been drugged. But something is, like, really starting to he starts to realize something is really up when she has a really adverse reaction to being offered water. The bottle is dropped on the floor, and as she goes to reach for it, apologizing and confused why she even did that, he notices at that point that her feet are backwards and realizes what she is. Apparently, the Bhut is a superstition-based creature that is, well, not really a creature, but a spirit. The spirit of a deceased person, who has not yet realized that they are, well, deceased. And you don't want them to realize that, because they become extremely aggressive and murderous, clearly. So it's found out pretty quickly, and he's hoping she doesn't find out. He's planning to splash her with water, because apparently they don't like water. And maybe that would have worked if she hadn't figured out that she was a boot beforehand. Maybe that would have worked at that point. But she does end up finding out before he can splash her, because she realizes her neck is itchy and everything, and so she looks in the mirror and sees that it has the rope marks on it because she was hung or whatnot. And so she realizes it, and that's when she becomes excessively aggressive. Her eyes go completely dark, and she lunges at him. He splashes her. She seems to disappear, but then eventually, like, down the road, comes back. The person who was following him on the road saw, like, a figure lunge at him right before he flew off the road and into a pole that ended up causing his death. So yeah, it's basically, the moral of the story is don't pick up strangers. But no, obviously, it's to be cautious about stuff. To always be cautious about certain things, and it's like, honestly, like, if you're like doing a rideshare and being asked to like pick up someone from like a warehouse district, and you see them just wandering about, do not let them in your car. I'm sorry, like, I would, like, that seems like fairly obvious common sense to me. If you see someone wandering about and they just seem dazed as fuck, do not let them in your car. They could be drugged. Like talking in real life, they could be drugged. They could be extremely dangerous. They could be tricking you and plan to rob or murder you. It's like there could be so many explanations. Instead, lock your car doors, stay there, stay around where they're at. Even maybe crack your window just a little bit just so you can speak to them and call the police. Because you definitely need someone to be coming to check in on them and all. And to try and get them help if there is something wrong. And if they are a bad person, well, then that helps with that too. Don't let them know you're calling the police, though, because that could cause problems as well. But yeah, it's like just, you got to be careful about who you let into your car, even as a rideshare driver. It's like, yeah, that's your job, but it's like, you got to be careful about it. You can't just be all willy-nilly. It's kind of one of the big reasons why rideshare like freaks me out a bit, both riding or the idea of driving it in it. It's just, I don't feel like it's safe. You know what I mean? But yeah, so then we come to the last one, which was the Umibazu of Japan. So this is a sea monster story, and it's another one about a restless spirit. So in this case, the spirits, though, become these like giant sea monsters, basically. This one, the one we see here, is very frog-like. It attacks a ship, and the captain knows what it is and tries to tell his crew, it's like, this is an umibazu. You have to offer it a barrel. And they're like, fuck you, old man, you're crazy. Let's shoot at this thing. So they do that. They shoot at this thing, and they are killed by the umibazu as it capsizes the ship. The only survivor being the captain, who offered the barrel. And the barrel allows him to escape to safety. He's eventually rescued by another ship, and when he tells them the story, they believe he's probably crazy from, being lost at sea and shit. And so they lock him in the brig. Not because they think he's bad, but because they think he's possibly a danger or whatnot. Unfortunately, they end up sailing into the same waters where his boat capsized, and the umibazu comes back and attacks again. He tries to yell for them for help, but here's the same kind of shit. They're just shooting their cannons and all trying to kill it. So it ends up killing them and destroying the ship. And this time the captain doesn't have a barrel and goes down with the ship. Not his ship, but the ship he was kind of forced into, the cell in. So it's like, yeah, that's just a dark sea story of a guy who tried to do what he was supposed to do to stop this spirit and ended up getting, fucked over by two separate crews of idiots. Let's just put it that way. But yeah, this was a pretty interesting set overall. If I had to say my favorite of this bunch, just personal favorites and everything, I would probably say the Pocong. It was just very fascinating superstition to learn about from Indonesian culture. I was just very, very enthralled by it. Definitely something new and interesting that I had never heard before. But in terms of what was actually the scariest, I would probably say The Thing, just because it's very real. It's a very real situation for there to be abusive fathers and shit in the world, abusive husbands, and it's horrible what some of these people have to go through. It's scary because it's real and because it's led to people getting killed and just so many years of extreme abuse, and it's just terrible. Probably the least scary for me, probably the Umibozu one. It wasn't like, obviously being in that situation would be scary, but I wasn't really scared listening to the story. Nothing about it like really unsettled me or creeped me out or anything. It was just like, it was more like, I was honestly more sad for this poor captain who was just trying to do his best and trying to do what he was supposed to do, but kept getting fucked over. The creature itself wasn't like as scary as some of the other stuff we've seen in this in these videos, or even this specific set of videos. But it wasn't bad. It just was the least scary. But yeah, my favorite is definitely Pocong, and the scariest is the Thing. So I thank you once again, Sweet Venom, for donating for this set of Snarled videos, and hopefully we get more in the future to go with, because I really do enjoy doing these. But in the meantime, I'd love to hear all of your thoughts. So tell me in the comments below, what did you think of this set of 4 Snarled videos? Which one do you think was the scariest, and why? Which one do you think was the least scary? Let me know down below, and for the time being, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.